I want to welcome you to Getting the Most Out of AI. We have our very own Rob Stutzman from Score Boston. If you enjoy Rob's presentation today, he does give a different presentation on a lot of fantastic topics about once a month. So watch for those to come out. And if you're new to Score, we'd like to welcome you and let you know a little bit about ourselves. So Score is about the sharing of business information. So we do that in a couple different ways. One is through our website, score.org. You can find all kinds of information, templates to download, not just business plans, but marketing plans and cash flow budgets, all kinds of different little templates. There's also lots of great resources, articles to read, blogs to read, pre-recorded webinars to watch. So take a look if you've not been on the website. The other way we share information is through our webinars and workshops, and most of them are online. We do have a few in person. We actually got a few cookbooks coming up, so if you're interested in that, take a look for those. You can find the listing on our website. You can also watch for our newsletter, and we also share some of them on social media as well. The most important thing that SCORE does, I think, is our mentors. Our mentors are volunteers, and they want to share what they've learned from their experiences with the small business community. We work with those that are trying to decide if small business is right for them. We work with those that are in that planning phase and those that are already in business. Folks come to us asking for help on topics that range the entire range of business topics. So we will definitely try and match you with somebody locally. And certainly if we need to, we can reach out to the national organization as a whole to help get all your questions answered. So beginning session is going to probably run around 40 minutes, and they want to know about you. They want to know what your goals are and what your challenges are, and they'll work with you to put together a plan to make that happen. The other wonderful thing is that our mentors work as a team. So you may have met with one person, but they will be reaching back to other volunteers to help make sure that they've given you a full round of information that you need. They'll bring in others to help co-mentor. So it's a really wonderful team effort and organization of support. So if you don't have a mentor, I would strongly suggest that you reach out to us to get one. Again, it's always free. So to get a mentor, very easy, score.org, blue box, put in your zip code, and that'll match you to the chapter that's nearest you. Then they'll ask you a couple other questions. So that way we can make sure that we cover, get you matched to the right person. So, and I see I did not change my last slide, but we're going to have questions for our presenter need to go into the Q&A button on the bar. We do have a very large group of people with us today, so we really need to have those questions that go for that you want asked to the presenter in the Q&A button on the Zoom bar. We are recording, and we will post that recording and probably by Monday. And you can see from the graphic where to find that. It's going to be also at the score.org/Boston website under local workshops on the blue bar, and to previously recorded webinar, they'll be listed there. So I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to turn it over to Rob. It's all yours.
All righty. Thank you, Teresa. Let me get my presentation up here. First of all, happy Friday to everybody that is on the webinar here with us today. We're so glad that you've decided to tune in to learn about artificial intelligence. And the perspective that we're going to be covering today is about generative AI tools, and we'll explain what that is. First, a little bit about myself. I've been in business for over 40 years, 30 of which was with Verizon, where I was had a variety of sales and marketing positions. I led global teams and marketing initiatives. When I retired, I set up for myself an LLC And so I do private consulting, but I also volunteer with SCORE. And the great thing about SCORE is that what we do is we provide business consulting free of charge. Uh, just absolutely had a wonderful career with Verizon, and I'm enjoying being part of a great organization in SCORE. Within the chapter, I am not only a mentor, but I am the marketing and social media chair. So responsible for advancing the SCORE Boston brand within our addressable markets. So I have to eat my own cooking, as they say. But if you want to get in touch with me, my email address is there. Happy to dialogue with you. And if you can also find me hanging out on LinkedIn as well. So a little bit about me. I'd like to get to know a little bit about yourselves. We've got a couple of questions in a poll. The first question is, have you used AI tools within your business? And the second question is, how do you use your AI tools? So why don't you go ahead and take a minute to fill out that poll. And when Teresa feels like we've got a nice sampling, she'll let us know the results.
Okay, I think we finally slowed down on replies. So I will go ahead and end that so you can see the results.
Okay, so how have you used AI tools in your business? Or have you? So the majority of us have. That's good. Because the tools really have only been around since November of 2023. But the growth of the tools have been astronomical. Fastest adoption of software in the history of software, that being ChatGPT. A third of you have not used AI tools. Hopefully, by the end of this webinar, you'll feel more comfortable, more confident to dive in and take a look at what they have to offer and if it makes sense for your business. So those of you who are using AI tools, not surprisingly, the majority are using them for marketing, and that's where it really lends itself, and that's where it really shines, is in that arena. And not only for marketing purposes, but people use it for coming up with documentation of all kinds. And then people are using it as well to take documents and put them into the tool and have the tool edit the document as well. So great. So got a good idea of who's on the call here. Let's dive in and take a look at artificial intelligence. Okay, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to define AI. We're going to take a look at some use cases. We're going to talk about generative AI. We're going to define what that is. We're going to talk about the types of generative AI there is. We're going to talk about prompts. Prompts are very important within the world of generative AI. We're going to talk about applications, some tools. We'll do some demos, and at the end, we'll cover some use cases as well. So artificial intelligence is a set of technologies. It enables computers to perform a variety of advanced functions, including the ability to see, understand, and translate spoken and written language, to analyze data, make recommendations, and more. AI is the backbone of innovation in modern computing, and it's unlocking the value for individuals and businesses. AI is not new. AI actually goes all the way back, if you can believe it, to the Vietnam War. There was artificial intelligence types of applications during the Vietnam War. And so that it's not new. It's been around for years in the form of a chat bot, and you probably have gone to websites and seen a little chat bot in the corner and asked your question. It's used for facial recognition. It's used for personalized marketing, autonomous vehicles that are out there, medical image analysis, credit screening, fraud analysis, and manufacturing and robotics. So artificial intelligence in and of itself is not new. It has been around for years. Generative AI, however, is new. Generative AI refers to a type of artificial intelligence that's capable of generating new and original content or data that resembles something created by humans. The AI technology involves creating models that can learn and understand patterns and structures in existing data and then use that knowledge to produce new data or content. You probably have heard the term machine learning. That's what is happening behind the scenes. When people use generative AI, that prompts the databases in the background to go and access data based on your prompt and deliver back to you information that you have put into the tool. And so it's information in and information out that you get from the tool. So the types of generative AI that exist today, the most widely used is text to text, and that's what ChatGPT is. ChatGPT is you put in a prompt, you ask it for something, it delivers back something in text form. AI can also take your text and deliver back to you an image. And this can come into play for logo creation. It can come into play for, you can envision, a general contractor or an architect working with a client. They could put in the client's desires, and it would deliver back a rendering of that prompt to the individual. Text to slides. There are capabilities out there that will take your text and deliver back to you a slide presentation. And so that can become very valuable, particularly if you're putting together a pitch deck. Maybe you are looking for funding and you need to put together a pitch deck. This can help you do, generative AI can help you with that. There's text to music, there's text to voice, and there's text to videos. Text to videos is probably the newest of the new, but it is also one of the more exciting developments within the world of AI. People today, when they're on social media, they want to be engaged and they want to be they want multimedia. They're looking for video. They're looking for some kind of information that they can engage with. And so having the ability to take something in text form and create a video is going to become very popular as the tools continue to develop. So generative AI prompts are specific instructions or input that are provided to a generative AI model to generate desired content. And the prompts serve as a way for users to interact with the AI model and instruct it to produce text or images or other types of content based on the given input. So for instance, if I were to put into the tool, write a short story about a detective solving a mysterious murder case in a small, quiet town, it will come back and provide a short story. And I can then take I can just read it for my own enjoyment. I could take and edit it and make it my own. There's a variety of things you can do. So based on the prompt, the generative AI model will generate the short story that fits the detective and murder mystery theme. It's important to note that the quality and the relevance of the generated content depend on the quality of the AI model and the specificity of the prompt. There are the big three within models today. The first is OpenAI, openai.com, and chat.openai.com is ChatGPT. There's also Bing. Bing has a feature called Copilot, and that gives you access to their AI model, which is built on ChatGPT. And then Google has Gemini, and Gemini is built on Google's proprietary uh, algorithms and methodology. But those are your big three within the AI world today for generative AI. There's a couple of others that are used within more technical environments, but by and large, it's the big three of OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google. So well-crafted prompts can result in more accurate and contextually appropriate responses from the generative AI. And additionally, some AI models require careful tuning of the prompts to achieve the desired output, as different prompts can yield different results. You'll hear over and over again me talking about prompts, and prompts are really crucial. And it's, the more specific you can be with the tool, the more satisfied you're going to be with the result that it provides. So what are some of the applications? As we talked about, people are using it for content generation. They're using it to create blogs and articles and product descriptions. Um, Social media today rewards those people who are consistent and post on a regular basis. They post with a particular cadence. The difficulty for the small business person is, how do I set aside the time to create the posts or create the blogs that I'm going to put on my website and let people know about them? Where do I find the time to do that? Well, that's where ChatGPT can be your best friend. It can take your idea, that you have your concept for an article, and based on your prompt, it'll come back with a framework. And then you can take a look at the framework and you can edit it, put it into your own voice, and then post it. What might have taken 2 or 3 hours to produce, you can get down to having it done, including posting to your social media channels, in about 20 minutes. So that frees up time for the small business person to focus on other aspects of the business. It's also good for creative writing. People use it for poems and stories and scripts, etc. People will input documents into the tool that they've created, and then the tool will come back and edit the documents. It'll do spell checking, and it will do grammar checking, and it will come back with suggested tone as far as what you have put into the tool itself. People use it for language translation. You get a document, it's in a foreign language. You can put that into the tool, and the tool will translate it for you. And then people are using it for conversational agents, such as chatbots and virtual assistants. Um, so the tools that are out there, if you're dealing with text to text, as I mentioned, the top three: ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Google Gemini. If you want to do a text to image, you can use DALL-E through the OpenAI platform. You can also use Designer through the Copilot platform. And you can also use Google Gemini, but it's a little bit more in development than the other two. The other two are much more established, but some people have used Canva and the Canva Magic Media to create text to image as well. And then if you want to do text to slides, you can use a couple of applications out there, Tome and Beautiful. And each of these tools can be used for free in their basic form. And if you want some more advanced features, then they have a premium version that you can bring yourself on. But you can certainly use them for free in their basic form. So with that, let's take a look at some of the tools, particularly for those who have not yet seen the tools in action. And so the first we're going to take a look at here is Chat GBT, which is the OpenAI platform. And let's give it a prompt. Let's say write a haiku poem about rabbits. Let's see what it provides us with. Soft whispers in grass, moonlit rabbits leap and dance, night's silent ballet. There you go. So it comes back. Let's take the prompt that was in our presentation here that was talking about the murder mystery. So let's take this prompt here. This one's a little more in depth, a little bit more detailed. So let's put this into the tool. And let's see what it comes back with. We might have to put it in again here. All right, let's try it again here. In a quaint town of Willow Creek, where the river whispered and the willows wept, life moved at a pace as gentle as the breeze, but as serenity. So I think you get the idea that now I haven't put this information. I mean, I haven't. The only thing I've provided to the tool is a prompt. Um, a lot of times for let me stop this for marketing purposes. I mentioned writing blogs, so we could say, write a blog about the latest trends in digital marketing.
Hey,
And
Rob,
again,
can you possibly zoom in a little bit so that
I
it's a
can
little bit larger for
try.
people to see?
I can try. My apologies for the small. Oh, there we go. If I come up here. Hopefully you can see that now.
Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, it's giving me information that I can then use. I can post it to my website. I can let people know on social media what I have available. So that is ChatGPT. For image creation, what I like to do is I like to use Copilot. And let me first sign on to it here. Okay, so let's say create a picture of a colonial house. Takes a little longer for the tools to create images than it does for it to create text. It takes longer for tools to create videos than it does to create images. But if you've got the patience, then you'll be pleased with the results when they come back. So this is going to give us the image in any minute now. And hopefully you guys can see this image okay. Let me zoom in on this as well. So that's a colonial house. But what if I wanted to say create, whoop, to go back to where I was. Oh, I closed my browser. How did I do that? Okay. So if I were to say now, create a yellow colonial house with green shutters and mahogany. No, mahogany, right? Mahogany deck. Let's see what that gives us. And it's nice enough to communicate me while it's creating the images in the background. It gives me some nice space to look at and make believe I'm in the stars somewhere. And there we go. So this one now has rendered an image of a colonial house. I asked for yellow, it gave me yellow with green shutters, and it's also given me a deck, a mahogany deck. So you get the picture that the more specific you are with the tools, the better the result that you're going to get. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up our time here, come back here. So, we've talked about prompts, and it's all about the prompts. If you're clear and specific, and if you use a natural language approach, meaning just talk to the tool. If you provide context, if you specify the format, if you ask open-ended questions, and if you experiment, I mean, it doesn't cost anything to, so, feel free to ask it lots of different things. Use examples and references. You can actually put in, it will learn over time your voice. So if you put in prompts and you say, I'd like this in a professional tone, or I'd like this in a business tone, or I'd like this to be funny, or I'd like this to be very informal, it will give you different styles of the same content, but different styles. And then you can pick the ones that are most in line with who you are and your language and your style. Check for biases, with any tool that you're working with. Don't always take everything you get verbatim. Uh, the tools can be known that if they get confused over what you're asking, they may actually come back and make something up. And there's actually a famous story of an attorney who was involved in a legal dispute and provided some documents as evidence that they generated from ChatGPT, and come to find out that the three cases that the document cited, one of them never even existed. And it was just the ChatGPT tool just made it up. And the attorney didn't verify the information, so it was quite embarrassing to be caught from that. Review and refine. Respect ethical guidelines. They are pretty good at, if you're putting stuff in and it doesn't necessarily like what you're asking from an ethical perspective, it will come back and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to give you your request because what you're asking goes against our standards, our ethical standards and guidelines. So that's good that they've got that in as well. So getting started, the first thing to do is to decide which AI tool to use. You've got, three at your disposal. Sometimes I use all three. I'll take a look. I'll put a prompt in, the same prompt in all three tools, and I'll pick the one that I think gives me the best return, the best content coming back. Get your prompts together. Open up the AI tool of your choice, enter your prompt, review the results, edit your prompt if necessary, then re-enter the edited prompt, review and edit results as needed, and create your final copy. And so, again, we're all busy. And as small business owners, you're incredibly busy doing lots of different things to operate your business. So if you can, anytime you can come up with a tool that can help alleviate what the stress that you have on you, all the better. And ChatGPT is just that tool to do it. A lot of times people will they'll go to graphic artists or they'll go to copy editors, which can be, fairly expensive. Now they're finding they can get the same kind of service and the same kind of information just going to the generative AI tools that are out there. So they're not only saving time, but they're saving money as well. And the copy editors and graphic artists, the smart ones, are incorporating artificial intelligence into their business so that they can continue to remain in business. So the smart ones are using the tools to their advantage. Just, a little infomercial on the way out here. Just as Teresa mentioned earlier, we provide free business advice and mentoring. We offer low or no cost business training, such as the webinar today. And we have templates and resources. Feel free to peruse score.org/Boston. That's where we put our content that we create locally here for our local clients as well. And if you want to set aside time and set up a consultation with one of our mentors, you can scan the QR code that you see here, or you can go to score.org/Boston and put in your request, and we will get you set up. We have about 80 mentors in just the Boston chapter. So we're standing ready to help you out with your business, and we are there for the life of your business. So with that, I thank you very much, and let's see if there are any questions that have come in.
Yeah, well, first, can you go back to the slide that lists the different platforms? Because a lot of these questions are coming around that slide. I think that might be helpful. Okay, well, the first one doesn't, but how does copyright and or plagiarism come into play with AI?
Yeah,
Do you have
that's
any opinions on that?
yes, that's a very big question, and it's dependent upon two things. The first thing it's dependent upon is legal action. With any new technology, there has to be a case that comes before the courts, and the court will decide, and then that will set precedent. When it sets precedent, then it will be the guideline that the tools will then have to operate by. The second thing is, and this is from the CEO of OpenAI. He said, they asked him in the Senate hearing back in January, I believe, they asked him, I create some content using these tools. Who owns the content? And he said, the content creator, because the databases and the machine learning that sits behind your prompt is not proprietary. It's taking data from a variety of different sources and just compiling it and giving it to you. But because of your prompt and your prompt being very unique, that content is unique to you. Now that will hold true until a case comes before the court and they argue it and they find out that it they either rule in favor of it or they rule against it. This is not unlike what happened when fax machines first came out. They said, is a fax document, is that a legal document? And they didn't know in the first. They didn't know how to rule about it, but then eventually a case came before the court. They ruled in favor, said yes, a fax is a legal document, and then we've been operating that way since. But great question.
Okay. Can you recommend apps or websites for text to videos and text to voice?
Yeah, no, because I'm still evaluating them myself, and they're really very cutting edge. They're very bleeding edge. The best I can say would be to Google text to voice or text to video, and sample some of the different tools that come up. Um, there's going to be there is a lot of development going on, and a lot of people are looking to monetize off of artificial intelligence. And so you're going to find a lot of tools out there that will sell you the tool, whether it be usually by a monthly subscription that they will. Um, you could try looking at synthesis for text to video, but I really haven't myself come up with this is the one. The what's coming from OpenAI is a text to video tool, and I believe they call it Cora. And that is under development. But when that hits the market, that's going to set the standard, because they've set the standard already with text to text and text to image. Um, but Google it out there and see what you find.
You mentioned Copilot for text to image, and that seems to be a Windows only product. Do the other two that you offered work better on Mac or?
Um, yeah, I mean, Google will work on a Mac just fine. ChatGPT will work on a Mac just fine. What Microsoft is doing, Microsoft, by the way, invested billions of dollars into OpenAI, and they now have about a 49% stake in it or something like that. So they're very closely in line with OpenAI. And so what they are trying to do is they're trying to take away market share from Google in Google search. So, Microsoft's version of Google search is Bing. So if they can give people an excuse to come to Bing, and they're using artificial intelligence to do that, to try to get people to come to the Bing tool. And they have incorporated it into their Internet Explorer, which they call Microsoft Edge, as well.
When you create information in ChatGPT, how can you transfer the information into a usable format? Often when you copy paste, it pastes back in with a box or a block around it. How do you get rid of that formatting so it's just the text?
Yeah. What you can do is when you copy, and then you go to paste, just say, don't say paste as source, or say paste text, or paste plain text. And another way to do it is to right click when you go to paste it, just right click your mouse, and you'll see the three different ways you can paste. Click the one that is paste to text, and that will take all the formatting and the boxes away.
Great. What is the best application for movie making?
Yeah, that's going to be the same as video. And movie making is kind of long form video. A lot of the video application today is very short form, and a lot of it is around animation. And a lot of it is kind of linking a bunch of still images together to create an animation or to create a video. That's the way Canva does it within their Magic Media application. The long form, rendering video requires an enormous amount of horsepower to take and render. Yeah, you saw when we were just looking at images, how images took a little bit longer than text. Video takes even longer than images. because it's got to take and it's got to call up all of the information, and it's got to render it into a video format, and that takes a lot of horsepower.
Okay. I'm not even sure if you can answer this one, but I'll read it out and see what you might know. Is there a specific information you can provide about the intersection of AI and using it in a medical setting for generating clinical documentation, including sensitive private health information, so that it is HIPAA compliant? Is there a specific tool out there that's recommended for practitioners, specifically private practice practitioners?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm not aware of any. The thing about AI and medical is that as we mentioned, sometimes AI can be known to make things up. It can also be prone to error, and so it proceed with extreme caution. If you're doing anything medically related, health related, anything financially related, anything legal, tread very lightly or very carefully when wading into those waters, because there's tremendous liability at stake if the information is incorrect. I am sure that there are probably medical databases out there that are incorporating AI into their database. So that's not necessarily going out and looking at information across a bunch of different databases. It's proprietary to their database, but it compiles it. It makes it easy for clinicians to put in their information and get the information back.
This isn't a question, but it is a comment in chat that I want to make sure everyone noticed, which I thought was, very, anyways, this person used an AI tool for their business plan outline. I don't know if you want to add any further comments to that.
Great application. That's a great
Yeah.
application for the ChatGPT. Because it puts the framework, it gives you a nice framework, and then you can take and fill in the gaps and make it your own. But that's a great application, as is marketing planning as well.
Okay. And I think you were telling me the other day that you even often record, with the permission of your mentee, but record the sessions and then put together or use it to create a summation of the meeting as well sometimes.
Yeah, if you have a Zoom Pro account, which means you're probably paying a monthly fee for it, they have a tool they call AI Companion. And what you can do is you can load up that tool, and then when you're in conversation with someone at a meeting, you can record it, and it's not a transcript. It takes the conversation and at the end of the call, it delivers back a summary of what your meeting was. And it's about 90% correct. It does a pretty good job. Some of the things it doesn't always get right, but and again, it saves an enormous amount of time for taking notes, and it allows you to stay in the conversation. You don't have to worry about having to take notes while you're talking. It does it for you. So great tool and a great application of AI within Zoom.
Okay. It looks like we're looking at, in regards to the medical question that was answered, asked previously, and other sensitive info besides the output, how about the privacy to or with whatever platform is creating it?
Yeah, when you're talking about HIPAA stuff, it's if you're going to use a public tool, public oriented tool, then your information is going to be made available to the public. So it's not a closed end system. It's a public system. And so that's why I bet there are probably medical databases out there that are putting AI around their proprietary information because of the HIPAA impact.
Have you ever done this? I don't know. Can you input spreadsheet data for generating other spreadsheets and graphics?
I have not. That's an interesting application. I'm not sure if it would be able to interpret the grid lines and the tables, but try it out.
Oh,
Let me know how you make out.
oh, somebody in chat said it can. So
Oh, good.
apparently somebody's used that application. So
There we go. Collaboration at its best.
yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't have any other submitted questions. Certainly if anyone thinks of something later, they can reach out to either Rob or myself and we can see if we can get you an answer. My contact info is outreach, and I'll put it into the chat. Outreach@scoreboston.org. You can also use that email if you have questions about getting a mentor. So yeah, let us know. And thank you everyone for joining and have a great weekend. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Bye-bye.